All right, we got lesson 1.4. We're going to learn about negative exponents. When you have negative exponents, you're going to flip them and make them positive. And this is very, very, very important. You're going to make them positive. On the first example, we've talked about what happens when we divide exponents. I want to write it out again. If we had x to the 4th power, it would look like that, over x to the 7th power. And remember that these are all the same numbers, so any number divided by itself is 1. Cancel out all the pairs, so I'm left with a nothing in the numerator, which would be 1 over x to the 3rd power. And we talked about what is happening here is I'm taking 7 minus 4, which is 3, but I have more of them still in the denominator. It canceled out all of them in the numerator. But what also is happening is my quotient rule said to subtract, and really you're supposed to subtract from the numerator minus the denominator. So it would be 4 minus 7, which is negative 3. So if I saw this, I could also write this as x to the negative 3rd power. But you'll see in directions, they're only going to want your final answers to have positive exponents, positive powers. So look at these right here. This is equivalent. Having a negative power really sends it to the denominator or flips it, okay? Because this would be over 1. So if I see something like this, I'm going to have to immediately know, hey, I can't really have a negative power. This needs to flip and be 1 over x to the 3rd. So now it's positive in the denominator. I always say if I could sing or rap good, I would make a song about this. You know, Snoop Dogg, drop it like it's hot. If an exponent's got a negative, drop it like it's hot, drop it like it's hot. And I haven't written any more words to it, but you get the point. So if it's negative, drop it like it's hot. But make sure you make it positive. Okay, so the first set of problems is simplify and make sure we have only positive exponents. Number 1, I don't see anything negative. So what we're going to do is combine the top first. So that would be back to our product rule, where we add 3 plus 2 and get x to the 5th, divided by x to the 8th. Oh my goodness, x to the 8th. And then I look at this and I say, okay, it's 8 minus 5, which is 3, but they're going to be on the bottom. So this would be 1 over x to the 3rd. I could have written this as x to the negative 3rd by subtracting 5 minus 8 and then changing it into this. But this is the answer they want. All right, number 2. I don't like how this looks. So anything that's got a negative power, I'm going to flip it across this line. So not only can we take negative exponents and take them to the bottom, if they're negative on the bottom, we can bring them to the top. So that's going to move and that's going to move. So really everything's on top. We would have x cubed times that x to the 8th times x to the 6th, which would be adding 8 plus 3 is 11 plus 6 is 17. Okay, I'm going to let you try number 3. All right, here's my final answer. What I did was I moved the negative exponent to the bottom. Then it became positive. I added 8 plus 4 and got 12, and then I did 12 minus 8 is 4, which would be in the denominator. Something else that's kind of cool here is if I were to just do my product rule and add, negative 8 plus 8 is 0. Anything to the 0 power is 1, just so you know. All right, and then what happens on the next 3 is we get 2 variables. Number 5 is not like that, but we get 2 variables, x's and y's. We're going to do the same thing and move anything that has a negative exponent. So that's going to move, that's going to move, that's going to move. Everything's going to be in the denominator. So it'd be 1 as a place filler over x to the 4th times x to the 4th times y to the 6th times y to the 8th. Product rule tells me to add. So I get 1 over x to the 8th, y to the 14th. Okay, number 5, you should be able to do. And that is your answer, number 5. If you have any questions at any time, you can ask me. Go ahead and try number 6 as well. All right, I flipped everything I needed to. The only thing that is in the top is x to the 8th. Everything else is in the bottom. 8 minus 3 would give me x to the 5th in the top over y to the 5th. Can't cancel them out because x and y are most likely different values, so these are not going to cancel to make 1. All right, the second part's even faster and easier to do. It says write the following expressions without negative exponents and without parentheses. So the top 3 are very similar, and then the bottom 3 are very similar. And number 7, the only thing that's getting this negative third power is the x. So let's kind of group that together. So the only part that needs to be fixed is the x to the negative third. And what are we going to do with it? Sink it to the bottom. The 2 is really to a power of 1 because there's nothing after it. So it'd be a 2 over x to the positive third. And that's all they want you to do. Okay, number 8 is kind of tricky. There is a negative in front of 5 because that's just negative 5. It has no negative power after it. Power is just 1. It's just this x to the negative second is the problem. So I would keep the negative 5 in the numerator and then drop x squared to the denominator. Okay, number 9, I'll let you try. You keep negative 8 in the numerator and then drop down x to the denominator. And we don't need x to the first. Okay, and then the second 3 are different because there's parentheses. So whatever's in here is all to the negative first power. To fix it, we need to take this whole thing and drop it to the denominator. So really it is 3x to the positive first. See how I flipped the whole thing to the bottom? Put 1 on top as a placeholder. It also said without parentheses. So we need to think 3x to the first power. Anything to the first power is still just itself. So that'd be 1 over 3x. Do we always get that lucky? No, of course not. All right, number 11, this whole thing of 5x is to the negative second power. So I'm going to drop it to the bottom, make the power positive, put a 1 as a placeholder. We need to do our power rule here, which remember we take the coefficient to the power, so this would be 5 squared, 25, and then x squared. And that's our answer. Okay, look at number 12. Try that one if you want to. My first thing would be to sink this whole thing to the bottom. And then negative 4 to the third power. I know it's a negative. 4 times 4 is 16 times 4 is 64, and then x cubed. The only thing I would suggest is don't leave a negative in the bottom. Float it up. So it's negative 1 over 64x cubed. It's not wrong if it's down here, or it could be in the middle. I just really like it on top. So I can say negative 1 over 64x cubed. Okay, and that is negative exponents.